Everyone says democracy's a mess.
You stand your butt up.
Oh, hold on.
Big
Oh,
guy.
stop it.
Is that your solution, every
Uninformed voters choosing politicians based on stories.
I still believe in a place called hope.
And money trying to shape those stories behind the scenes.
That Bush is buying up to $10 million in printing coming on. I mean, it's perfect for television.
Leading to decisions that affect everyone.
It is a pandemic at this point. Let's talk about what that means.
You must stay at home.
Because hell is coming. We need to shut it down now.
Some say get money out of politics. Others say cut the stories out and let money run government directly. Those people point to financial markets that allocate trillions of dollars around the world. No voters, no stories, no campaigns, just price.
We can't stop the selling. Offer 3,070.
So their idea is to create markets for the decisions governments need to make. Then government automatically implements it. Healthcare, market decides. What could possibly go wrong?
I also want to say that I support retail investors' right to invest in what they want, when they want. As for me, I like the stock.
First, let's look at what the stock market does. The price mechanism is a truth signal, what people think something is worth right now. The market absorbs all information, human insight, machine analysis, expert forecasts, insider information. It takes everything into account and distills it into one number. And there's a force that keeps that number honest. The profit motive.
Tell me more behind it. Do it, do it, do it. There's more behind it.
Traders are always battling over what number is true, like gravity. It pulls the price towards what reality can support. And realize the market price reflects both present reality, facts, account balances, quarterly earnings, both public and all insider information, and future story, potential futures we can assign some probability to, whether it's a long shot or a sure thing.
Hilton is the canary in the coal mine. Okay, it's going to zero.
Hang on just 1 second. You say Hilton is going to zero? I mean,
every hotel company in the world, okay, is done.
It's July 2020 right now, and I'm bullish on GameStop at the current price point of about $4 per share. The negative sentiment is overdone. In fact, I think the GameStop stock is, it epitomizes value investing. It's like value investing at its finest.
Market prices account for both present reality and future possibilities compressed into one number, and so everything is priced in. Now, prediction markets isolate just those future events, stories about what will happen. In prediction markets, the price represents the crowd's best estimate of the probability of a future event. And profit-driven traders push these probabilities towards the most likely outcome, absorbing expert, non-expert, and algorithmic opinions. And based on the track record, prediction markets are the best probability predictors we have. And this is why companies have been using prediction markets internally for decades. Google famously ran one called Prophit starting in 2005. Live odds on real company goals, ship dates, user growth, even executive hires. They found these betting markets were more accurate than the project manager estimates, because the engineers and employees actually building the product could bet on reality without the social pressure to be optimistic in meetings. For example, a senior executive saw that the market was giving extremely low odds that Google would complete an important hire on time. The executive joked later that the market was telling him a hard truth, and it was the nudge they needed. They made some hard decisions and completed the hire on time. It turned out this market was their best advisor. This leads to a very tempting question. If these markets work so well at measuring what will happen and can inform decision-making, then why not use them to decide what should happen directly? Take a hard policy question. Should we raise minimum wage? What if we create markets for each option and pick whichever one dominates? Then let the money decide. Anyone can see the problem here. Money just buys the outcome it wants because we've made a category error, using the tool of a market price that is designed to measure what is on questions about what ought to be. The policy goes to the highest bidder. Now, the economist Robin Hanson saw this problem and came up with a very clever way to try to get around it.
So again, let's review the problem we're dealing with. The problem is there are big important decisions to make. A lot rides on them. They're very complicated. It's hard to understand exactly what the right answer is. There are many interested parties who would like to push things one way or the other. They will do it in many ways. The question is which mechanism does best in response to that problem.
His trick was don't bet on the decision itself, bet on the outcomes of each decision. For example, the question of whether we should lock down during COVID.
And we got to do the 30-day shutdown. And if the president has to bring out the National Guard to keep people in their homes, which I don't think he will need to do, he should do it.
First, we would decide on what we care about measuring, such as deaths from COVID. Then we create a market not on the decision itself, but on the outcomes, how many COVID deaths in 6 months. And if the market predicts fewer deaths with a lockdown, then we lock down. After 6 months, the actual death count is revealed. Traders who predicted accurately collect their winnings from those who were wrong. Notice the trick here, money isn't voting on what we ought to do. It's betting on what is going to happen after we do something. This turns the vote back into a bet. And now ask yourself, does this solve the problem of outside money influence? Well, let's add some players to the room. Tech companies profit massively from lockdowns, while airline and restaurants lose everything. Both sides have hundreds of billions riding on the decision, so they do the math, spend millions to push the market towards their preferred outcome, but they'll make or save many times that from the policy decision itself.
I think that when you extend this proposition to government and you say, well, how much can be made by making the government make a bad decision? That number is essentially infinite.
And this leads to a key flaw. If outside profits from a decision are bigger than the cost to move a market towards that decision, then the market breaks. Remember, for a price mechanism to work, people need to trade based on what they think is. It breaks when it's dominated by people trading based on what they think ought to be. The bet turns back into a vote. But let's say we somehow fixed all that. We'll make manipulation impossible. We'll ban anyone with conflicts of interest from trading. There's still a deeper problem. Using metrics as the only basis for decisions.
He's getting a little thick around the waist.
Well, and his reports about him on the weed and the strip clubs.
Well, his on-base percentage is all we're looking at now.
He's a defensive liability, and I question whether the bass feed's still there.
His legs are gone.
Grady.
We'll be lucky to get 60 games out of him. Why do you like him?
Because he gets on base.
What is this? What are we doing?
This is the classic critique of scientism, the belief that if we just measure things precisely enough, we can engineer perfect outcomes. A great example of this is in 18th century Prussia. Forestry officials wanted to make their forests more productive, and so they settled on a metric that seemed to make perfect sense: volume of usable timber per hectare. This was the valuable thing the forest produced for them. And then they made the fatal but classic mistake. They used that metric not to just measure forests, but design them. And everything else, like the undergrowth, the shrubs, the quote, trash trees, and decomposing matter, was ignored. They planted new forests optimized for timber volume. Neat rows of trees, all the same age, high-yield species, easy to harvest. And it worked. Timber production per hectare went up dramatically when they harvested. But after one generation, the forest started dying. The problem was tunnel vision. Sharp focus on one convenient metric that ignored the enormous complexity of what forests actually are. Ecosystems, they need biodiversity, decomposition cycles, messy undergrowth. All that stuff that doesn't show up in timber volume per hectare. Because reality is always more complex than what we can measure.
I actually had a question for Robin, because I don't really understand his proposal in the national context. I don't understand if I bet that cap and trade is a bad thing, and therefore I'm trying to drive the price in such a way that they won't do it. What is the mechanism by which, after cap and trade has been done or not done, we decide whether or not it was a bad thing?
Now we want a measure of not just GDP, but national welfare. This measure of national welfare will include a few things that GDP doesn't include. We're going to include some leisure, some health, and some other things. And now it's your job to measure this number and tell us what it is. And every year you'll be telling us our national welfare number, and we'll create a weighted average over these future numbers.
There's a famous quote from Stalin in which he says, comrades, life has become happier, life has become more joyful. And I love the idea of this national joy index. Is life good? Is life bad?
And even if we somehow found a metric or basket of metrics that worked good enough for a decision market, we'd face a final problem. Consider what happens when we decide to optimize for hospital mortality rates. And we fund them based on this metric. Well, hospitals turn away the sickest patients. Or if we fund schools based on test scores, schools teach to the test, and actual learning dies.
Tests should be used carefully and objectively, and with understanding of what they can and cannot do.
This is known as Goodhart's law. When a measure becomes a target, it ceases to be a good measure. And anytime metrics have very high stakes, we see their definitions and how they are counted become the new battleground. Let's go back to our trader during COVID who maybe thinks lockdowns are a terrible idea and believes death will actually go up. So they bet 10 million on high deaths with a lockdown. But maybe the market disagrees and it prices low deaths. So we lock down. Now this same trader who lost the policy decision can still win in the market by gaming the metric, lobbying and bribing people to change how we count COVID deaths.
This is the biggest ad hoc political group. Definitely the wealthiest in DC. Or
do we count deaths with or from COVID? Do we include excess deaths? Do we count delayed surgeries? There's always a way to push numbers to support your bet. So let's return to the problem. Democracy's a mess.
We're afraid that we might get another lawyer as president. New York is pro-choice! New York is pro-choice! New York is!
Partially uninformed voters, money fighting over stories.
You make 2,000 signs that are...
Well, Eli, I'm not at all convinced that a bunch of hodgepodge, handheld, homemade signs are going to make the impact visually, from both a television point of view and from a podium point of view, that a sea of the same kind of sign across the hall.
But here's what that critique misses. That mess has a purpose.
You know, I actually saw the opening speech of the Constitutional Convention, and the first speech is by Governor of Virginia. He says, we've got a real problem in this country. There's a real danger of democracy breaking out. Now, what do they mean by democracy? Well, they meant this. They meant people sitting around in squares, publicly discussing what to do and brainstorming ideas and resolving their own problems in an equal fashion. And why were they against it? They said very blatantly. I mean, John Adams said, well, one man, one vote? Well, that's insane. You can't have democracy. We have like 10 million people with no property and 1 million people with property. What do you think's going to happen if you give these guys the vote?
In democracy, money cannot buy votes directly. And so when people say my vote doesn't count, that does miss something crucial, which is the rich only get one vote too. And so they have to buy their votes indirectly through storytelling. And that's where they face the mess of democracy, which you can think of as an immune system, competing for mindshare in the story arena.
Like that on a lot of issues. First on one side, then the other. He's been spotted in more places than Elvis Presley.
But in terms of scripts tonight, we're going to test alternatives, one with welfare and one with spending.
I think it's very important we get at the end, we get that read my lips. I know that will drive them, the voters, just the most famous broken promise in the history of American politics.
The mistake that was made was making the read my lips promise in the first place just to get elected. All right, Mr. Perot, the question is for you. You have a 2-minute answer, and it will be asked by Susan Bell.
And the key thing is you can't make people believe a story. You can buy a megaphone, but you cannot guarantee that message sticks. Stories have to persuade. They face the friction of debate, counter-narratives, and skepticism. A story that doesn't resonate just dies, no matter how much money pushes it.
I'm getting sick and tired. I am every single night hearing one of these carping little liberal Democrats jumping all over my you know what. And
There's no doubt that George Bush's attacks on us have an effect. The effect they have is on George Bush. Negative. See? They're working against Bush.
Meanwhile, stories that do resonate can spread without any money at all.
Surprise! GameStop's up about 5x from when I uploaded those videos over the summer, so that's great to see when you have a thesis and by and large it unfolds as you hope that it could. But it has brought me tremendous joy to just share in this, what has turned out to be a bit of a case study, right? As some of us feel. I mean, you had some bright individuals sharing their thoughts in the stream, in the chat on the stream, and that's been great. But all over social media, I've been seeing a lot of great things, and it feels as though people are kind of picking up on the story, that the right story is kind of getting disseminated a bit.
And when it comes to the hardest decisions we face, we already have proof that the mess can work. Take juries.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. 11 for guilty. Those voting not guilty. What? Okay?
I don't know, it just isn't so easy for me to hold up my hand and send a boy off to die without talking about it a little.
I think the kid's guilty. You couldn't change my mind if you talked for 100 years.
But I'm not trying to change your mind. I'm just trying to say that I think we should talk about it.
12 random people, no special expertise, deciding questions of guilt or innocence. Questions where someone's freedom or even life is at stake. Those jurors hear contradictory evidence, different stories told to them from both sides, often with big money behind them. They argue, they deliberate.
I think that this woman honestly thought that she saw this boy kill his father, but I tell you what she really saw. A blur. Just a blur. How do you know what she saw? How does she know all these things?
And then they vote. And juries are not perfect, they can't be. But we trust them with the hardest decision our legal system makes. Not because they're efficient, not because they optimize some metric, but because they represent the community making a judgment that requires weighing values, context, and evidence together. The system was designed to keep money out of the deliberation room. And so if we trust juries with someone's life, why wouldn't we trust democratic deliberation with policy? And so realize we have two systems that function entirely differently. Markets are systems for discovering what is going to be. Democracy is a system for deciding what society thinks ought to be. Markets compute through trades driven by profit expressed as a market price. Democracy computes through debate driven by values and stories expressed as a vote. In markets, money is in control. That's the only way they work. In democracy, money has to work indirectly, and that indirection is the buffer against direct manipulation. The distance between dollars and decisions, the debate we inject, even when it slows things down, that's what gives the forest of human society room to thrive.
What do you think of internet sort of based democratic systems?
I mean, I think that the technology is really useful to get people into the spaces where they can sit down together. And, we can't have enough of that. But at some point, people have to look in each other's eyes. Yeah.
This video is about how money influences stories in democracy and how wealthy interests shape narratives to buy outcomes. This is most evident in news coverage, and that's exactly why I use Ground News. Ground News is an app and website that aggregates stories from over 50,000 sources, and it helps me make sure I'm not missing any stories. My favorite feature is how it shows you who's funding each outlet telling a story. Take Elon Musk claiming Tesla's robots could become surgeons. Fox Business emphasizes innovation. Business Insider counters with skepticism. And here I can see Fox Business is owned by the Murdoch family, while Business Insider is owned by Axel Springer. Fox's favorable framing makes sense given Musk's ties to the current administration, while Axel Springer can afford more skepticism from its European position. Seeing all sides is essential, and Duke Research recently found that this kind of exposure to different sources actually reduces polarization. Go to groundnews.com/AOTP and subscribe to let them know I sent you. 40% off, just $5 a month. You can use the link or QR code. That's groundnews.com/AOTP. Support my channel and transparent journalism. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you've made it this far, then please join my email list. As you know, the algorithm's in charge, and I'd love to be able to reach out to viewers directly. I'm working on a new project I'm excited about, and I would like to hear from viewers about potential video ideas you'd like to see in 2026. So when you fill that out, drop your idea in the box and I'll reach out.